A few years ago, I was 16, 17. I worked in a restaurant as a waitress. There were two locations, one in my town, which I'll call Restaurant A, and one in a town about 30 minutes away, Restaurant B. I should mention that Restaurant B is located in a rougher area, and many of my coworkers weren't from the best of backgrounds. Nonetheless, they were sweet people and I trusted them. I was trusted as a manager on Thursdays at Restaurant B, which usually meant I was the cashier, server, manager, and the only other person would be a cook, which I'll call Dave. In the restaurant, there is a front glass door that customers use and a back wood door. No window in the door. We used to take out trash and such. One day, we had no business, and I was in the kitchen with Dave and another cook that was about to leave. We're standing around talking, with Dave right in the front of the back door, the other cook to the side of the door, and me about 5 feet away from Dave, in line with the door. He had a bag of trash in his hand, and he was going to take it out. He opened the door while still facing me and talking, and behind the door was a person. It was clearly a person in a gray t-shirt, jeans, and a black hat. I saw him for a split second, long enough to know someone was there, and then Dave saw my face and turned around, which blocked my view, and the guy was gone. The other cook saw my face turn white as a sheet when Dave had opened the door and joked that I looked like I'd seen a ghost. Oh, the irony. While Dave started looking around outside to see what I could have seen, I started actually panicking. I have severe anxiety and panic disorder, and Dave was trying to calm me down, but he also seemed really freaked out. He asked me what I had saw. I told him I saw someone. I described the person, and what he told me next will never leave me. Dave started crying and ran out the door with his phone in his hand. He was outside for nearly half an hour, and when he came back in, he was calmer but still nervous. He told me that roughly 10 years ago, he and his friend were in a horrible car accident, which ended in his friend dying. He told me the person I described standing outside of the door was wearing the exact outfit his friend had died in, and apparently I wasn't the first person to see the ghost of his friend. Dave told me that whenever something were to happen to anyone in his family, his friend would show up to either him or his family. For example, one time he saw the ghost of his friend, and literally a minute later his phone rang and he found out his father had just suffered a massive heart attack. When he had went out the door, he was calling his family to make sure everyone was okay. Luckily they were, but not even 2 days later, he found out his wife had miscarried. As if that wasn't weird enough, the same night I saw the ghost, something else weird happened that I believe was paranormal, but I also understand could have been paranoia. I was up front at the register, still shaken up, and a huge cow was hovering outside of the front door. It was so weird. It literally was just flying in place. It suddenly flew away, and then a really strange-looking man approached the door and opened it wide, but didn't enter. He had the creepiest smile on his face the entire time. Moments later, the crow was back, and it almost came into the restaurant, but another customer swatted it away. The man literally turned around and left, didn't order anything, and didn't say a word. I know it sounds unbelievable, but I'm just hoping someone reads this and understands that what I went through is real, because everyone I know doesn't believe in the paranormal and thinks I'm just imagining things. My wife passed away suddenly on June 2nd, 2020, from a massive heart attack. Nobody ever asked themselves what I would do if my significant other was not here tomorrow. I wish I would have asked myself that question. Maybe I would have been more prepared. Anyways, 2 days after she died, I was on my way to do something, and at the last minute, I remembered I forgot my phone. So I went back into the house through the hallway and entered my room, got my phone, crossed back into the hallway where I froze in my tracks. Because I smelled my wife's perfume, as if she was standing right next to me. I forgot to say I knew my wife for 31 years and had been married for 23 years. So that was the first strange thing. About a week and a half ago, I went and collected my wife's ashes and placed them on the coffee table in the living room. That same day, I had someone answer an ad that I had placed on the OfferUp app. I was selling a lamp and I accepted the person's offer. The guy showed up about 5:30 p.m. and bought the lamp. While he was here, he asked if I was selling anything else, and I replied yes. I have a chandelier hanging up in the back of the garage that's for sale. I got it down and showed him. I also said I have a gas-powered skateboard that I'm selling. It's in the house all boxed up because it's for sale on eBay. Well, he passed on both items a few hours later. I would get a notification on my Instagram page that someone had liked one of the posts, and the person had liked 2 pics I posted, which is not uncommon. I did not even bother to look at it. The next morning when I got up, I checked that Instagram notification, and that person had liked 2 pics. One was the skateboard, and the other was the chandelier. Now those 2 posts are very far apart. In fact, you have to scroll down on my page about 200 pics to get to the chandelier. The person that liked the photos account was Carrie Mill, which is my wife's maiden name. So I clicked on the account, and one of the people that follows her was her niece. Another person that follows her was a manager at an apartment building that we used to live in. Weird, right? So I searched some of my wife's paperwork looking for the password to her Instagram account, and I found it. So I went to her account, went to settings, and looked at the login activity. The only time that account has been accessed from our own IP address. What the hell? The next weird thing happened last night at about 3 a.m. I was sitting at my computer in my room, and the dog comes in and stops at the foot of the bed, looks up like she's getting ready to jump up, but does not. Instead, she just sits there staring up at nothing and starts wagging her tail and twisting her head back and forth like someone is scratching behind her ears. This goes on for about a minute or so. Last thing today, my son was filling out an application for a student grant for school on his phone. When he was done, he scrolled to the bottom of the page to make sure he didn't miss anything. And you know how at the bottom of an app it says either how many people have used this app or when it was used last? Well, at the bottom of the app, it said it was last used 12/31/1969. That was my wife's birthday. I wish I was just making this up, but I am not.